What's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and I have another requested tops list video to share with you guys today. And this time I'll be going over my top 5 favorite video game villains of all time. Now, this list was requested by one of my viewers going by the name of Macho Wesker 17. And before I begin, I decided to add a couple rules for this particular list. For starters, I'm only going to pick one villain for each individual franchise. And number 2, I'm not going to pick any villains that were originally created in another form of entertainment. So, sorry guys, people like Ares or the Devil or heck the Joker aren't on this list, but maybe I'll add them in a future list. So, starting off with number 5 with the Final Fantasy franchise, I'm sure some of you guys can guess to see what it is. Seymour from Final Fantasy X? Nah. Clef from Final Fantasy VI? Interesting. Maybe it's Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Oh, now that's classic. But no. You want to know who the real villain of the entire Final Fantasy franchise is? It is actually, in general, the entire Square Enix development team. Now, look. It's one thing to create an antagonist for one particular game. But when you have a development party, which pretty much has created 3 games, which their very means of purpose of existence is to destroy everything Final Fantasy ever stood for 20 goddamn years and shit all over my childhood and early teenage years, that is just another level in general. And the only way I'm gonna drop this is if Final Fantasy 15 is the best damn Final Fantasy game I will ever play in my life. And for those of you that aren't quite on the same page as me and understanding where I'm coming from, well, let's just say I won't really talk about it. But for those of you that do understand where I'm coming from, that's how much I hate it. And that's why I'm sick and tired of talking about it. Which is why I'm jumping right into number 4. Of number 4, we have a classic villain coming from the Legend of Zelda series, and that is Ganondorf. Some people get a mix-up between Ganon and Ganondorf, but trust me, there are certainly distinct differences. But my favorite version is Ganondorf, simply because not only does he look like a badass, he seems to be the much more intelligent version of Ganondorf. Plus, I think his plans over the franchise have gradually been very vast, unique, opposed from, say, other classic Nintendo villains like Bowser, which pretty much do the same thing over and over. Ganondorf seems to have this level of intelligence that he needs to gain all of this power. And Link, regardless of what timeline or what version, is always there to stop him. And it's every single fight that you have against Ganondorf is always unique, creative, and different. And that's what makes him always very refreshing when I challenge him in a new Zelda game, which is why I'm really curious how they're going to do him in the next Zelda game. But bottom line, Ganondorf is simply classic, and I think to this day he is very relevant with the modern sense of how you develop and create a very memorable villain, and that is why he is number 3 on this list. Or, sorry, 4 on this list, sorry. Going on to number 3, I picked Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat. Now, I've had mixed feelings about Shao Kahn, but the one thing that has stayed very consistent is that that bastard is very difficult to beat going head to head. Now don't get me wrong, a lot of us have found really cheap ways of taking down Shao Kahn, but the one thing that has always stayed true is that I have never actually been able to take down Shao Kahn going head to head. And I'm not sure if any of you guys know how, but if you can do that, bravo. And the fact that he's really been relevant in the franchise since all the way back in Mortal Kombat 2 when I think he first made his first real appearance, and he has stayed relevant all the way to the newest Mortal Kombat, I think that really does say a lot about this particular villain. I'm really curious if he's going to have a part in Mortal Kombat 10, but only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, he is one tough badass. Going on into number 2, I picked with the Resident Evil franchise, Albert Wesker. Now, Albert Wesker has always, to me, felt like more of a puppet master. He's not someone who really likes to get his hands dirty, say, in general, unless he has to. But when he doesn't, he's really a very serious manipulator. I mean, he's kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes, kind of controlling what characters are doing. And when he did take kind of a front row seat in the Code Veronica storyline and Resident Evil 5, I thought he was portrayed brilliantly. I mean, he kind of dresses like Neo in Resident Evil 5 and can somehow teleport by moving around real fast, and it's kind of a shame how he kind of goes out, but that doesn't change the fact that he really has been the main antagonist of the entire Resident Evil franchise since the very beginning. And many consider, including myself, think that what he did over the course of his life will continue to play a serious role in the future of Resident Evils. Even though he's not really alive, you can absolutely feel his influence throughout this entire franchise, and that is why he's number 2 on this list. Going on into number 1, and my all-time favorite video game villain of all time is undoubtedly from the BioShock franchise, Andrew Ryan. Now, the interesting thing about Andrew Ryan is he's the type of villain where when you look at him from the beginning, you can understand that his creation of wanting to build a city of Rapture is very unique. It has a great amount of ambition. But then when it all starts to kind of fall apart, you can kind of see him fall into madness and become a very dark character, very controlling, very manipulative. The whole twist with the "would you kindly" speech is just, many consider one of the greatest twists of all time. And the fact that his influence really does affect the rest of the franchise really says a lot. I mean, it's one thing to be present when you're doing bad things, but the fact that your actions are going to really shape the foundation of the future of your city of Rapture, and some would say that Columbia fits in the picture, but I don't like to talk about that. But the bottom line is that Andrew Ryan, really to him, he does not see himself as the villain. And those are the best type of villains. It's not the villains that admit that they're bad. They're the ones that think that they're doing the right thing. And they will do everything in their power to convince you otherwise. And it's your resistance to them that makes them such a great villain. And that is why Andrew Ryan is at the top of my list. And with that, those are my top 5 favorite video game villains of all time. But I really would like to know, what are some of your guys' favorite video game villains of all time? Tell me your list in the comments down below, and if you like this video, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to track me in my future top list videos. And if you guys have any video game type related lists that you would like me to do, tell me your list in the comments down below. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.